Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Acutely conscious, though we are all of misery and desolation, in which the greater part of the world is plunged, let us turn aside for a moment to that ideal Ireland that we would have. Fields and villages would be joyous with the sounds of industry. That Ireland which we dreamed of would be the home of the people who valued material, wealth only as the bias of right living, of a people who were satisfied with frugal comfort and devoted their leisure to the things of the spirit. A land whose countryside would be bright with cosy homestead, whose fields and villages would be joyous with the sounds of the industry, with the romping of sturdy children, the contests of athletic youths, and the laughter of comedy maidens. His firesides would be forums for the wisdom of serene old age. It would, in a word, be the home of a people living the life that God desires that man should live. With the tidings that make such an Ireland possible, St. Patrick came to our ancestors 1500 years ago, promising happiness here as well as happiness hereafter. It was the pursuit of such an Ireland that later made our country worthy to be called the island of saints and scholars. It was the idea of such an Ireland, happy, vigorous, spiritual, that fired the imagination of our poets, that made successive generations of patriotic men give their lives to win religious and political liberty, and that will urge men in our own and future generations to die, if need be, so that these liberties may be preserved. It is our nation as a whole that future must apply. 100 years ago, the young Irelanders, by holding up the vision of such an Ireland before the people, inspired our nation and moved it spiritually, as it had hardly been seen moved since the golden age of Ireland's civilization. 50 years after the young Irelanders, the founders of the Gaelic League similarly inspired and moved the people of their day, as did later the leaders of the Volunteers. We of this time, if we have the will and the active enthusiasm, have the opportunity to inspire and move our generation in a like manner. We can do so by keeping this thought of noble future for our country constantly before our minds, ever seeking in action to bring the future into being, and ever remembering that it is to our nation as a whole that future must apply. The language for us is precious beyond measure. For many, the pursuit of the material is a necessity. Men, to express himself fully and make the best use of the talents that God has given them, need a certain minimum of comfort and leisure. A section of our people have not yet this minimum. They rightly serve to secure it, and it must be our aim and the aim of all who are just and wise to assist in the effort. But many have got more than it is required and are free, if they choose to devote themselves more completely to cultivating these things of the mind, and in particular those which mark us out in a distinct nation. The task of restoring the language as the everyday speech of our people is a task as great as any nation ever undertook. As a vehicle of 3,000 years of our history, the language is for us precious beyond measure. As a bearer to us of a philosophy, of an outlook on life deeply Christian and work in practical wisdom, the language today is worth far too much to dream of letting it go. To part with it would be to abandon a great part of ourselves, to lose the key of our paths, to cut away the roots from the tree. With the language gone, we could never aspire again to being more than half a nation. For my part, I believe that it is this outstanding mark for our nationhood can be preserved and made forever safe by this generation. I am indeed certain of it, but I know that it cannot be saved without understanding and cooperation and effort and sacrifice. It would be wrong to minimise the difficulties. They are not slight. The task of restoring the language as the everyday speech of our people is a task as great as any nation has ever undertook. But it is a noble task. Other nations have succeeded in it, though in their case, when the effort was begun, their national language was probably more widely spoken than their people than is ours with us. As long as the language lives, however, on the lips of the people as their natural speech in any substantial part of this land, we are assured of success, if we are in earnest. God bless you and bless the work that lies before us. May God protect us, and may we always, as a nation, be worthy of the gift that St. Patrick's brought to us. May the Almighty, who has brought us safe until now from the calamity and misfortune that we have befallen so many other nations in consequence of this war, grant us shelter and protection to the end, and make us worthy to play a noble part in the new world of the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.